Okay.
So then, were you about to bring up the next one?
Or you can ask about it.
Well, so then, if this has, because this is, you always keep the first one?
You only do it when it's subtraction.
Yeah, because it's supposed to simplify it.
So if this was reordered to be 3 minus, like,
What if you
3
change
plus a
it?
negative 4, then you use it.
So that would keep it.
Even though it's 3, it's already plus.
Mm.
Like, if it was written out like, 3 plus, like, negative 4, would they
No.
know to keep change that?
No, because no. You only keep change if you see minus.
I understand, but so how, if they're taught to keep change, how do they approach this?
They don't. They would never use keep change.
So
They
then
don't
how
have
do-
an
how do
addition
they go
column.
So
Like,
then
what's
how
the
do they,
next step?
how do they understand, like, how do they solve that then?
With the number line?
Okay.
Like they're
This is
negative
just
4,
weird.
and then they added 3 to it.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying. I should have clarified that sooner. And then there was another.
Sorry.
It's okay. If you have more questions, we can.
I just-
Yeah.
I don't,
I was gonna say I've used it differently to where like generally you would use it in situations where like you want the smallest amount of signs possible. Like
Right.
generally you try to do when you see subtraction. So like -4 plus 3 we wouldn't use it, but 3 plus -4 would be
Right.
3. I would use 3
I was taught
minus
to
4.
rewrite it as 3 minus 4.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
have used 3 minus 4.
So that's what I was, I guess, getting at. Like, if they saw this, would they they would go use an alternate method, but if they saw this, which is the same
they
thing,
would.
they would do keep change.
It's not they're gonna keep change that. You don't
Right.
subtract anymore.
No, so they'll keep change this, but if this is the problem they receive, they'll go do that on their own.
Yeah.
Your kids, right? Not every.
We're not making
Yeah.
a universal
Yeah.
statement here, but
Yeah.
like, if this is the method generally, that we're assuming they're using.
I was taught to just do it anyway and then see which one looks easier and then try to solve it. I don't know. If
So we're
that's
not sure
appropriate.
why the
Yeah.
student used this method, why, this brings back up the YC's question about
Mhm.
why there was an equal sign and nothing on the other side for the other two. Just curious about this.
Yeah, because I probably wouldn't have used it for the first one just because that seemed straightforward. So that's a good question. All of them seem straightforward.
So it brings up a question I have because after hearing the explanation, whether this cross portion
Mm-hmm, yeah.
and the number line is part of the same solution or it's a separate solution? I mean, that's a question I'm wondering.
Yeah, I think that was, I thought it was 3 methods, or 3 separate ways of approaching it, but it sounds like there's the possibility that it might just be 2 and that it was associated with it. But I think that's something we need more context.
About how the teacher.
About how the teacher's teaching, or what the exact unit is to know whether or not it's 2, 3 methods, 1 method. I don't think that's something that we can make an assumption about at this point.
Right, but you're also wondering if students see a relationship between any of the methods,
Yeah,
or whether they see them as discrete or
just,
separate.
yeah.
I think that perhaps a student is comfortable with algebraic expressions. Based on number 3, it's like I guess if you follow what he's saying, if he or she is saying, if you divide by 5 and the answer has to be 2, you have to divide by 10. I mean, essentially that's like an algebraic expression.
So I actually
They
spent a
solve
lot of
that.
time looking at number 3 and trying to figure out how they were processing it, because I look at it and I read it as an algebraic expression type
Mhm.
problem and like was following their logic and solving it that way, and then was thinking, kind of bringing it almost down a level and looking at it as, so what are each of these numbers referencing? How could they have gone about this without maybe like using a variable or something
Mhm.
of that nature, and like doing like pieces of the puzzle. And so I don't know if that's necessarily something like Like, I don't know if that directly says that the work that they produce says that they understand them, because I think there are ways of getting at it without expressly knowing how, like, expressions.
So, because
Sorry,
there's two.
I'm not
no,
articulating
no, you're
myself.
fine, I'm just trying to synthesize what
Yeah.
I'm hearing, there's two different interpretations of what the student understands
Yeah.
based on this sentence. So maybe the sentence, this is me just wondering as Lauren, maybe the sentence is less clear than we originally thought, because we're still not sure how they solved the problem or what they understood.
Yeah, so when I was wondering if there was scratch work or some type of work that we weren't seeing, it was directly in reference to question 3.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because I think it's hard. I mean, like, I was even having trouble, like, coming up with that, like, following it in my own mind without writing something down. So I'm wondering how a student could produce that sentence without having done a physical calculation with pen and paper.
Did anyone else have that sense when reading it, that they were having trouble following it, or that maybe not? Because Lauren, I had that sense.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for validating that.
I think that if it had like a couple more words in there would have been clear, because I think it is clear, kind of, because if they would have said, if you divide a number by 5 and the answer has to be 2, then
I agree with you on
yeah,
that.
then that would have like changed the whole flow of the sentence.
It would have demonstrated a clearer understanding of what they were doing. In my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Are there other missing words?
I mean,
It's okay if there's not. And earlier you expressed that Monday through Thursday was equal to 9, was a bit less clear. You said
well,
some-
yeah, I said that they didn't say like the sum of the temperatures, they just said the days of the week are equal to 9.
So you're assuming that they know to add the numbers, that they got that
Yeah.
number by adding, it just is
Yeah,
not
that's
existent.
true, yeah.
Sorry, I do think we should. 2 more minutes, I think, okay. Interpreting our questions. So, just as a refresher, the questions we're looking at are, what do you see?
Like 2 more minutes.
What do students understand, or what questions do you have about the work?
The work is in the student production. Or about,
Yes.
like, okay.
I don't know if Delaney already said this, but or somebody said this, that I assume, or perhaps the student is comfortable with working backwards.
What do you mean working backwards?
So like starting from the answer to,
Hmm.
you know, like not working.
What do you see that's
What do I mean?
making you say this?
So like, it's not a problem where they're taking numbers that they know and kind of working from left to right, I guess. I mean, still kind of left to right depending on how they would have set it up in their mind, but like, they're not taking, known variables, I guess, and generating an answer that way. They're starting from a final answer.
Their sentences, the
and-
way they present
Yeah,
their work.
yeah,
They say the difference between the temperatures is 12, the temperature is 1, and then is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
Or
I'm
they
talking
give their
about-
answer and then say the reasoning?
no, I'm talking about like the way in which you solve this problem is kind of through working backwards.
The number 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, maybe I should have said that. Number 3. Number 3, yeah.
Okay. You see some backwards reasoning rather than,
Yeah, like making presumptions about numbers based on what they know. So I guess that would be considered.
rather
working
than starting
backwards.
with the sum or doing, there was some
Yeah,
backwards.
because they can't really start with the sum because they don't know what the sum is. So you would have to figure out what the sum would have to be. So that is, I guess,
Okay.
essentially working backwards.
I understand what you're saying.
So like a deep enough understanding of the mean of, like the understanding of a mean and knowing that and the relationship between a mean and the sum and then, is that what you're saying?
I guess that they would be working backwards through like the mean formula, like knowing what the mean
Right,
formula
yeah.
is, working backwards into it instead of like having, because I guess in most situations you would have all of the points and then just be dividing it by the total number.
So then I
So
wonder.
they're
if
working
it's-
backwards.
So then I wonder if it's fair to say that the student seems to be demonstrating what we might perceive as a clear understanding of the definition of a mean.
No, I want to say they understand how to work backwards.
I wonder if the number line is something recent that they learned in class. Using the number line to add or subtract.
Like if it's been a focus of.
Yeah.
What makes you say that?
Because I mean, like, there's not like, they use the number line instead of like you making like circles and then like crossing them out or something like that. Like they specifically use a number line on all 3 of the ones where it's like you're less than or.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you were saying it because it was third in, like, if you
Oh,
moved
no.
left to right.
No, I just mean like, if that's the method that they've been taught on how to add or something.
Okay, whether this was something that had been discussed in class, the number line method.